The rain had been falling for 3 days without pause when Lady Gaga disappeared. Not from the public eye, her Instagram was still active, carefully curated with surreal photo shoots and abstract captions, but from her inner circle. Her assistant, her manager, even her sister had no idea where she was. Texts were marked as read. Calls went straight to voicemail. And yet, her black Escalade had been spotted, according to grainy CCTV footage, slipping into a restricted service tunnel beneath Lower Manhattan. That's where the real story begins. Wax Ingress and Moon the invitation. It started with a letter, not an email, not a DM. A physical, hand-delivered, ivory-colored envelope, sealed with red wax bearing the mark of a double-headed phoenix. She received it backstage at her Chromatica ball after-party in Rome. At first, Gaga thought it was a joke, or maybe an elaborate fan stunt. But the handwriting was unmistakable and elegant, looping style she hadn't seen in years. It belonged to Father Alphonse, the Jesuit priest who'd once taught her Latin in high school and later mysteriously vanished. The letter read, "Stefani, the time has come. The light calls to you. Come to the place where the city breathes from below. Midnight, October 13th. Wear the ring." Inside the envelope was a heavy, ornate silver ring etched with esoteric symbols, an eye, a triangle, a serpent swallowing its tail. Gaga laughed nervously. She'd seen symbols like this in Reddit conspiracy threads. She kept the ring. Magnifying glass tilted left the tunnel below. The Manhattan service tunnel wasn't on any map. It had been part of an abandoned World War II fallout project, a myth, supposedly constructed beneath the financial district in case of nuclear fallout. Locals called it the Black Vein. Urban explorers who ventured there often came back silent, or didn't come back at all. Wearing a floor-length black trench coat, minimal makeup, and dark sunglasses, Gaga stepped out of the Escalade at 11:58 p.m. Her driver handed her a flashlight and whispered, "Good luck," before disappearing into the mist. The hatch was already open. Candle the lodge. The hallway smelled of wax and copper. Her footsteps echoed like cannon fire. After what felt like an hour of walking through silence and darkness, she reached a vaulted stone door. In the center was a hand-shaped indent. She instinctively raised her right palm, the one with the ring. The door sighed and opened. Inside, 43 robed figures sat in a perfect circle, each holding a single candle. A stone altar stood in the middle, inscribed with Latin phrases and geometric alignments. A single white owl perched silently above. The moment she stepped in, all candles extinguished at once. Only the altar glowed now, faintly, as if lit from beneath. Brain the inner circle. A voice, calm, deep, and eerily familiar, broke the silence. She has returned. The muse of the ages. The star who remembers. It was Father Alphonse. He hadn't aged a day since she last saw him. His face, still sharp and cold, smiled with something between reverence and fear. "You were born for more than music, Stefani. That was only the frequency to prepare your mind." Another robed figure rose, a woman this time. When she removed her hood, Gaga gasped, "Madonna, we've been waiting for you." Bomb the secret within the notes. Gaga's earliest songs had always come to her in dreams. Some were so complex, she believed she must have subconsciously heard them elsewhere. Now, as the lodge began to chant in low harmony, she recognized the melody. It was the exact sequence of chords she'd written for Bad Romance. "You weren't writing songs," Madonna whispered. "You were decoding transmissions." Gaga staggered. Transmissions from what? Father Alphonse stepped forward. From before mankind. Resonance and revelation. The stone walls of the underground lodge pulsed faintly, almost as if responding to the hum of the secret choir. Lady Gaga stood frozen, her heartbeat syncing with the vibrations in the air. The candlelight seemed to flicker in time with her breath, bending around her like a living aura. Madonna stepped closer, holding out a parchment. On it were musical notations. At first glance, Gaga didn't recognize the symbols. Then she blinked. Her eyes adjusted, not to light, but to meaning, and the notes rearranged themselves. They spelled out the chorus of Born This Way. "You thought it was a song," Father Alphonse said. "It's a key." "A key to what?" Gaga whispered. "To the door beneath the soul. To the ancient memory locked inside all of us. But only those born under the fifth frequency can unlock it." The fifth frequency. The fifth frequency was a concept Gaga had vaguely heard before, referenced in metaphysical blogs and New Age manifestos. But here, in this stone chamber beneath the streets of Manhattan, it was spoken like law. "Most live in the first or second frequencies," said a bald figure she later recognized as Quentin Tarantino, shrouded in deep crimson robes. Artisans like you reach the third, but those attuned to the fifth can bend reality. Madonna walked in a slow circle around Gaga. Your fame wasn't an accident. Your suffering wasn't an accident. Gaga flinched. She remembered the trauma, the pain, the early career chaos, and the inexplicable rise. The moments where she felt possessed by music, as if she were a vessel rather than a creator. The origin memory. Madonna gestured toward the center of the lodge where the altar shifted with a grinding noise. A mirror rose from the stone, framed in gold serpents. Look into it, Alphonse said. Not with your eyes. With the part of you that sang before you could speak. The surface of the mirror rippled like water. Gaga stepped forward. Her reflection flickered, replaced by visions of ancient rituals, firelit mountains, and celestial alignments. She saw herself, but not as herself. A priestess. A warrior. A siren singing on the deck of a ship carved from obsidian. The voices around her chanted. You were there before language. Before kings. Before gods. You remember. You remember. She collapsed to her knees. The architect. Later, she sat alone in a candlelit study, somewhere deeper within the underground complex. Father Alphonse joined her, holding a bottle of 150-year-old cognac and 2 glasses. Who built this place? She asked, her voice hoarse. We call him the architect, he replied. He was the first to channel the fifth frequency. Before the pyramids. Before Atlantis. He knew that sound is the structure of matter. That music can form, destroy, and reshape the physical world. He opened a thick leather-bound book and turned to a page showing a figure in a long coat standing before an ancient circular machine made of crystal and brass. We found this machine buried beneath Antarctica in 1972. The same year you were conceived. Gaga blinked. I was born in 1986. Alphonse sipped his drink. Your body was born in 1986. The breach. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the tunnels, a mechanical chime that sounded off-key, jarring in this world of harmony. A young acolyte burst in. We've been breached. They found us. Who? Gaga demanded. The acolyte shook his head. The counter-chorus. Alphonse stood instantly. They're the ones who control the mainstream frequencies, the broadcast towers, the digital signals, the noise. They've been hunting you for years. Because you have the song that can collapse their system. Shadows among the famous. As they rushed down spiraling corridors lit by flame, Gaga caught glimpses of other members of the lodge evacuating. Elon Musk, calmly typing something into a sleek black terminal. Bjork, carrying a glowing sphere that hummed in harmony with Gaga's heartbeat. Keanu Reeves, armed with a silver-bladed cane, nodding once at her as she passed. These weren't celebrities anymore. They were protectors of the song, a hidden class of initiates who used fame as a cloak, an amplifier, and a message. They reached a hidden elevator, and as the doors closed, Gaga turned to Alphonse. What happens if they catch me? He stared ahead. Then every voice on Earth becomes part of the static, and the last true frequency dies. The frequency war. Above ground, New York City looked the same. But it wasn't. As Gaga emerged from a disguised maintenance door near the Oculus, the air felt heavier. The sounds of the city, sirens, construction, even birds, clashed in chaotic dissonance, like an orchestra playing in reverse. The counter-chorus was already working. They're jamming the harmonic layer, Bjork said beside her, clutching her sphere. Trying to drown out the real tones. And if they succeed? Gaga asked. Then every mind tuned to creativity, empathy, or awakening will fall into resonant sleep. Alive, but asleep. Forever. The song that shouldn't exist. In a safe house deep beneath an old jazz club in Harlem, one only accessible by humming the right exact tone, the inner circle of the lodge reconvened. Around an ancient oaken table, they pulled out a scroll made of pressed quartz. Etched into it was a melody that shimmered when you looked too long. This is the Song of Reversal, said Keanu Reeves quietly. The one you channeled while dreaming in 2009. I never wrote this, Gaga whispered, running her fingers along the luminous notes. Not you. But the version of you that existed before, said Madonna, her eyes sharp. Before time looped. The room fell silent. The first loop. Madonna unrolled a map unlike any Gaga had ever seen. It wasn't geographic, it was temporal. At the center was a spiral, marked with birth dates, celestial alignments, and emotional spikes. You've lived this life before, Madonna explained. At least 13 times. We all have, added Elon Musk, drawing a perfect circle on the map with his fingertip. This reality is a closed frequency pattern, and we're stuck in looped broadcast. The counter-chorus ensures it resets every time we get close to breaking free. You mean, we never make it? Gaga asked. Not yet, Madonna replied. But this time, we have you. And you've remembered more than ever before. That's why they're coming harder now, said Bjork. They're scared. Attack on the lodge. Before Gaga could process more, the walls trembled. The door exploded inward, and in stepped a man in a blood-red suit, his face half covered with a reflective black visor. His voice was flat, synthetic, but eerily familiar. Terminate the harmonic anomaly. He raised his hand. A weapon made entirely of sound formed in his palm, pulsing, oscillating, vibrating in the same destructive frequency as tinnitus. Keanu jumped in front of Gaga. The blast hit him square in the chest, but instead of collapsing, he absorbed the wave, then deflected it with his cane. Go now, he shouted. Find the architect's tuning fork. Madonna grabbed Gaga's hand and pulled her through a hidden stairwell. We have to get to Vienna, she said. There's a piano there that was built using the architect's original ratios. It's the only thing that can stabilize the song you hold. A song born in silence. As they fled through the underground, Gaga felt her body tingling with a new sensation. A memory that wasn't a memory. A song she had never written, but knew by heart. A sound that made no noise, yet resonated through bone, blood, and time. It's inside you now, Madonna said. The complete sequence. What if I forget again? You won't, she replied. This loop is different. The counter-chorus failed to suppress your awakening. Now they're desperate. The train to Vienna. The lodge had connections everywhere. A private maglev transport waited inside a sealed tunnel beneath JFK. It would take them across the Atlantic, a relic from a pre-NASA propulsion experiment. As the train began to move, Gaga stared out into the darkness of the tunnel, feeling the pulse of the fifth frequency deep in her bones. But somewhere in the pitch-black shadows, the man in the red suit watched her, whispering to a device on his wrist. The Muse is en route. Initiate Project Dissonance. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, back in LA, strange things were happening. Every radio station began looping static-laced versions of Gaga's older songs. Fans reported hearing whispers hidden inside Poker Face when played backward. A statue of her outside a small studio in Hollywood was seen weeping blood. Tabloids exploded with headlines. Lady Gaga's music linked to global audio phenomenon. CIA investigating subsonic frequencies in pop songs. But in secret chat rooms and dark web forums, something bigger circulated. She's the Muse, and they're trying to stop her from singing the song. City of Echoes. Vienna. A city of music, ghosts, and secrets hidden in plain sight. As the train slid quietly into a forgotten underground station just beneath the Hofburg Palace, Gaga felt something shift, a soft vibration, as if the entire city resonated with an ancient rhythm. The fifth frequency was stronger here. The streets, the architecture, the air, all tuned to a deeper resonance. Beethoven knew, Madonna whispered as they stepped onto the platform. So did Mozart. And Haydn. Their compositions weren't just genius, they were blueprints. Bjork stepped out behind them, holding her orb tighter. But only one of their instruments survived untouched. The zero piano. The zero piano. Hidden in a subterranean vault beneath the House of Music Museum, guarded by harmonic locks that only opened when sung to in perfect pitch, the zero piano sat in eerie silence. It was a black, five-legged grand with ivory keys that shimmered like liquid moonlight. This piano wasn't made by human hands, Madonna explained. It was found in 1799, encased in stone. Every key corresponds to a cosmic frequency. It's how the architect tuned reality. Gaga stepped toward it. The moment her fingers grazed the keys, the vault lit up, symbols glowing along the walls, the floor trembling like a living drum. She sat down. Play what you remember, whispered Bjork. The sound that never was. She didn't think. She played. The melody flowed like water through marble. It was not of this world. It curled and twisted through minor scales that shouldn't exist, made sense in ways that felt divine, and ended in a silence so perfect it felt like death itself had paused to listen. The piano levitated 6 inches off the floor. The chord scroll from before unraveled and merged with the piano, becoming part of it. The orb in Bjork's hands shattered into stardust. And Gaga? She began to remember everything. The song's real purpose. Visions came, not dreams, but memories. A previous life as a priestess on a crystalline moon orbiting Saturn. A time when Earth was tuned to a harmonic field that allowed humanity to transcend physical form. The invasion of the counter-chorus, beings who severed those frequencies and enslaved sound. The creation of the Song of Reversal, a musical algorithm buried across thousands of lives, waiting to be reassembled. and in every loop, she had failed to finish it. Until now. You're not just a muse, Madonna said, eyes wide. You're a tuner. You realign worlds. Betrayal at midnight. But not all was harmony. As they prepared to broadcast the song from the Vienna vault, an ancient mechanism designed to transmit through the deep layer resonant grid of Earth's crust, something snapped. Madonna pulled a weapon from her coat, a tuning fork forged in obsidian and blood. I'm sorry, she said softly, pointing it at Gaga. But I can't let you finish it. What? Gaga blinked. You brought me here. To contain you, Madonna said. Not to free you. I once believed in the lodge. But the counter-chorus made me see balance is a lie. Control is the only path to peace. She struck the tuning fork against the zero piano. A shockwave of dissonance exploded through the chamber, shattering lights and throwing Bjork across the room. The piano cracked, crying out like a wounded animal. You destroyed it. Gaga screamed. No, Madonna said. I made it loyal. The echo collapsed. Suddenly, a fissure opened beneath the vault, as if reality itself had cracked. From the void emerged the man in the red suit, flanked by figures and visors humming like tuning forks. The muse has played. The loop nears collapse. Commence phase omega. Gaga tried to scream, but her voice was gone, muted by the fork's frequency. She dropped to her knees, clutching her throat, as the counter-chorus began siphoning the song from her body. Don't worry, Madonna said, turning away. We'll remake the world in silence. The final memory. As darkness closed in, Gaga felt a flutter deep in her chest. A single note. Weak. Pure. It was her heartbeat, but in perfect fifth frequency pitch. The song wasn't in the scroll. Wasn't in the piano. It was in her blood. Silence before the surge. She lay on the cold floor of the vault, soundless. Gaga had been silenced. Her vocal cords frozen by the dissonant tuning fork, her breath shallow, her song siphoned. Around her, the counter-chorus buzzed in ritualistic unison, droning a monotone hum that sucked the very resonance from the air. Madonna, veiled in grief and conviction, stood beside them. Her betrayal still stung, but Gaga saw something in her eyes. Not cruelty, but fear. It's the only way, Madonna whispered as if convincing herself. If she sings, the world ends as we know it. Maybe that's exactly what it needs, came a voice from the shadows. It was Keanu. Burned, limping, one arm shattered, but alive. The dissonance breaker. From beneath his coat, Keanu withdrew a weapon shaped like a harp. 6 strings made of crystal, humming in opposition to the counter-chorus's signal. He strummed once. The effect was immediate. The red-suited man recoiled as his visored soldiers convulsed, collapsing under the force of a note they weren't made to hear. Even Madonna staggered. That's a frequency from the zero loop, she gasped. That shouldn't exist anymore. It didn't, Keanu said, until she remembered it. He turned to Gaga, kneeling beside her. You don't need your voice to sing. The 5th frequency doesn't come from your throat. It comes from your essence, becoming the song. And then it happened. Gaga closed her eyes. Her breath slowed. She fell into herself, past pain, past loops, past identities, back to the original source of the muse. Time unraveled. She saw herself as a starlight entity bathing planets in sound. A medieval prophet burned for singing in tongues no one understood. A young girl with piano-stained fingers who wept melodies into cassette tapes. A pop icon misunderstood, weaponized, glorified, but always tuned to something deeper. And then she sang. Not with voice, with being. The broadcast begins. All over the planet, those attuned to her, fans, dreamers, creators, the broken and brilliant, felt it first. A vibration in their chests. A warm echo in their bones. A silent melody of awakening. Phones buzzed without signals. Radios caught static laced with harmony. Animals turned their ears skyward. The sky shimmered like a forgotten memory. The world had become an instrument, and Gaga was the conductor. The 5th frequency was everywhere now. Counter-chorus collapse. In the vault, chaos erupted. The red-suited man screamed as his body disintegrated into waveforms, a synthetic being unable to survive pure tone. His soldiers turned to vapor. The tuning fork in Madonna's hand shattered into dust. What have you done? She whispered, watching the song light up the walls. You've broken the structure. No, Gaga said, her voice returning. I've set it free. Madonna fell to her knees, tears running down her face. Then it's over. No, Gaga said. Now it begins. Aftermath. a world retuned. The shift was subtle, then seismic. Depression rates dropped globally within weeks. Dreams became more vivid, more shared. Music changed. Emerging artists created symphonies they couldn't explain, claiming they just heard it somewhere. Governments tried to suppress it, but every time they did, a new tone would leak, encoded into the hum of power lines or the chirp of birds. People began to remember. Not facts, not history, possibility. The final broadcast. 1 year later, Lady Gaga stood atop a newly constructed crystalline tower in Iceland. The tuning spire, a global harmonic resonator funded secretly by the lodge. She wore a robe of liquid silver, her hair flowing like sound itself, her eyes glowing with knowledge and loss. "This song is not mine," she said into a microphone older than language. "It belongs to all of us. You've heard it in your sleep, in your bones, in the spaces between. Now, it's time to remember who we are." She pressed a key, and the song of reversal, the song of truth, of sorrow, of infinite potential, broadcasted across the world, over every frequency, in every language, beyond time itself. Epilogue. The end of the loop. The world didn't explode. It didn't burn. It breathed. The loop fractured, not violently, but like a cocoon finally giving way to wings. Lady Gaga disappeared shortly after that broadcast. Some say she ascended. Others believe she dissolved into sound, becoming a frequency herself, the eternal muse, guiding artists from the inside out. But one thing is clear. No one ever listened to music the same way again.